The Maruti Suzuki Baleno, a car that tends to be a bit of a contentious subject in the YouTube comment section, but Maruti says they've sold one of these every 3 minutes since 2015. And now it's here with a long-awaited and extensive update. So you must have a lot of questions, the chief of which being, does this feel like a brand new car? The way an all-new Baleno should. That question will be answered at the end of this video, but first, some other questions like 6 airbags. Did I hear that right? Yes, the top 2 variants now get 6 airbags, and aside from that, the AMTs get ESP and hill hold. You can find that on the top spec manual as well. So the safety package is now more extensive. And aside from that, the car is now heavier, on average by about 55 kilograms. So has that weight gone into structural enhancements? A more solid car then? Only one way to find out. Wait for the actual crash test with the regular crash test dummies, not just the regular kind. Oh my god. But I do know where some of that weight has gone. I'll tell you about it later on in the video. So, what happened to the CVT? It's gone. I'll cut straight to the chase. Of course, you have now got the 5-speed AMT instead of the CVT, and as far as AMTs go, this is an extremely intuitive unit. Again, as far as AMTs go, so it's very predictable to use. It doesn't feel lazy or dim-witted like a lot of AMTs tend to, and by far what we've seen with Maruti Suzukis and their AMTs, the tuning is largely on point. And this is a transmission that's married very well to the engine's capabilities. So it's a very easy city drive, and that said, if you are at higher speeds and are going for highway overtakes, with this transmission, those will need a little bit of extra planning. Now, for the million-dollar question, do you feel the gear changes? I think you just saw the answer. So yeah, you will be able to tell when it's going through the gearbox, especially on downshifts. And at path throttle, you will feel the gear changes. They're not jerky, but you will feel at least a slight sway. It's only when you absolutely pin the throttle for a hard overtake or, gaining speed really quickly is when you're going to feel a little bit of a jerky motion. So yeah, as far as AMTs go, it's a brilliant transmission. It's been tuned very well and it is doing the smoothest possible job it can. But it's still an AMT. And it does feel like a downgrade compared to the CVT in that sense, because it just plain isn't as smooth. It's like the best broadband connection you can get, it's still not fiber. But this dual jet petrol motor is absolutely fantastic. First of all, take a listen. Gotta love the sound of a good old-fashioned naturally aspirated petrol engine. So this is an engine that you can really push to its limit. You can enjoy getting it there and even staying there. And with this AMT even, because it's not the most conservative AMT in that sense, if you go for a hard downshift and keep it in manual mode, notice how it is in auto upshifting. It's going to stay on the limit, and then when you want to, you can move up the gearbox. So it does give you that greater sense of control. So yeah, even with this transmission, although the manual is obviously the one you'd prefer, you can enjoy this car's capabilities to some extent. Otherwise, driving the Baleno is a familiar affair. The engine is extremely refined, very smooth to use, and even with the manual, the drive behavior is very predictable. 90 horsepower, 113 Nm means that you've got enough pep for a car of this size. Now with this new Baleno, you have lost the mild hybrid technology that you had earlier. You still do have engine start-stop, but no mild hybrid. But even with that, the fuel efficiency figures, as you expect, are high up there, whereabouts of 23 kilometers per litre for either one of the transmissions. But enjoyable to use as this engine and, well, the manual transmission may be to drive, the powertrain isn't going to be complemented with an overall dynamics package that is as exciting as, say, something like a Swift or an Ignis. The Baleno is decidedly tilted towards ride comfort and ease of use. So, to take a corner a little bit quickly, the steering isn't telling me much. It'll get the job done, but it's not particularly involving or exciting to use. And even the body is more comfort set. So While you aren't getting a car that's all that exciting in terms of its drive dynamics in the Baleno, what you are getting here is great ride comfort. As you can see, we're on a pretty bad patch of road. I mean, this is not really a road, it's just dust, gravel and broken patches all over. And it's absorbing the bumps brilliantly. Most of what you're feeling from the surface changes is going to be limited to the lower half of the cabin, so you don't feel like you're being tossed about, nor do you feel like the car has to be taken too delicately through these roads. But overall, I'd say that if you were looking at the better balance between driving dynamics as well as plush ride quality, I feel like the Altroz is doing a better job than the Baleno.
Fine. What about the interior?
Well, without a doubt, there is an upgrade in the cabin, and it does feel like an upgrade in that sense. For example, the plastics, not only do they have a smoother finish, but the fitment quality is better and they even feel so much more solid. I also like what they've done with the door armrests, for example. They've got this little leatherette padding on the side, not only in the front but also at the back. And combined with stuff like this new flat bottom steering wheel, the quirky choice of color combinations with the black, silver and a little bit of blue on the dashboard as well as the doors, it all comes together to make this car feel like it has more of a personality on the inside. The space and practicality quotient also stays pretty much the same because there's been no drastic enough change on the dimensions front to affect what's happening on the inside. So somebody who's 6.5 foot tall, sitting behind his own driving position, and of course I am also hefty, I can manage in this seat, and I'm not ideally seated in this position, but somebody who's a regular sized human, they can manage quite easily in this back seat and find it nice and spacious. At the same time, you have got rear AC vents at the back along with two new charging outlets, a USB Type-C as well as a regular USB outlet for charging. And on the boot space front, on paper, boot space has reduced to 318 liters. I have no idea how that's happened or why, but the usable space is more or less the same. The only catch with the Baleno being the loading lip is quite high and there's a lot of depth to go through before you get to the boot floor. So with larger luggage and heavier bags, it is a bit tricky to load it.
The little touches are nice, like vanity mirrors with lights for both front occupants and a sliding front armrest with storage. The not so nice touches? No rear armrest or cup holders, no leatherette seats, and the seat cushioning is fine for city use, but it's still a little too soft. Seriously, those side bolsters do nothing. So, is that it? Not even close. There's touchscreens for all but the base. The top spec gets this Smart Play Pro Plus 9-inch HD touchscreen with Archimedes audio and over-the-air updates. The screen seems a bit cluttered and data heavy at first, but you do have shortcuts below for easy access to your main functions. The Baleno also comes with connected car tech that ticks the basics like door lock and light control, car tracking, geofencing, speed alert, and about 45 other things. There's also a heads-up display that's actually quite handy. A digital speedo, the tacho, aircon displays, and even a gear indicator for the AMT can be found here. And yep, a segment-first 360-degree camera. Not the most necessary thing for a car of this size, but it does come in handy, especially on B roads, where you may not have the clearest view ahead otherwise. Oh my god, I forgot about the question that came to mind when I first saw this new Baleno.
Is that an all-new generation or a facelift? It definitely looks like a facelift. You wouldn't be wrong to assume that this is a facelift because the changes are notable but mild. Up front, you'll find that the face looks a bit broader, a bit Ciazified, I guess, especially because of that downward slope of the bonnet. Take a look at these though, the new headlight clusters. You're going to find LED projector headlights in them. Down below, you'll find LED fog lights and these new NEXA spec LED DRL signatures. But by the way, they don't double up as the indicators. That's a separate halogen unit of its own. Bit of a bummer. Take a look at the new grille. I do not know what to call this shape or the mesh pattern on the inside. Let's just call it wavy, but it is a nice look. And join me over to the side and take a look at these new 16-inch two-tone alloy wheels that you're going to find on the top spec Alpha variant. One of the things that you may not be finding all that apparent on the side are the new body panels. They look a little bit different, but feel just ever so slightly sturdier. They have a little less give to them. That's all I'm saying. They just feel a little better. And join me at the back to take a look at the new LED tail lights. They extend into the tailgate. They've got a new LED light signature and they make the new Baleno a little easier to identify. But overall, it's not a drastic change, is it? So then, coming back to that original question, does this feel like a brand new car? The kind of change you expect after a near decade-long run. Well, not exactly. This isn't an Elite i20 to Carenger i20 kind of change, and that may come as a disappointment to some people. There's also a step back, especially with the automatic transmission, with the move from a CVT to a brilliant but nonetheless AMT, especially when the competition seems to be moving in the opposite direction. How this Baleno redeems itself is by maintaining its value for money and bang for buck quotient, asking for more or less the same money while giving you a better ride, more features, and a better build, especially on the inside, while retaining the space, practicality, and usability that we always liked of the Baleno. This may not be the revolution that many were expecting, but it is an evolution that you will appreciate.